Good evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your live daily show which brings you all the non-dirty wrestling news and all of that from around the professional wrestling world. We're going to discuss some stuff. I apologize that we're a few minutes late today. In honor of the 5-year anniversary of AEW Dynamite, in true AEW fashion, we were waiting for a TK announcement, but unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to wait until later today for that announcement, which Tony Khan teased on X last night. But we do have a great show for you guys today. We're going to be discussing our favorite AEW Dynamite moments, as well as if Ethan Page is going to be called up to the main roster, the fact that Matt Cardona has confirmed that neither AEW or WWE has even made him an offer, and of course preview tonight's edition of AEW Dynamite, the 5-year anniversary special. But to do that, I need a great panel, and boy oh boy do I have one. Let's kick things off with Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm fired up to see you again, Ben. It's been too long. You're back from your involuntary hiatus. I'm stoked to see you as always. Obviously, we had Phantom of the announcement today, so we got, extra pre-show time, which is always fun. The only thing important that I do think you missed while you were away is we started a hashtag, and you know how much I love the intro. We got to get Megan in the intro. Megan in the intro, hashtag get Megan in the intro. It's trending on Twitter. I think there's like 4 or 5 of us that have hashtagged it total. So obviously it's huge. But I'm just saying, Ben, we got to get Megan in the intro.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a lot of editing?
You guys, it is. It is. It's a lot of... The last time we had to do it, my hand was forced because somebody had to be removed from it. But we will get Megan in the intro sometime very soon for sure. That has to happen. I've got to make time to get that done. But also joining us today, we have Soul. How are you, Soul?
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful Wednesday. That's most importantly because I'm back in the suit. Yeah, I've been doing the dailies out of character, pajama essential has been, but back suited up, ready to go. It's an anniversary, 5 years. I think let's just get into it and let's talk about my favorite wrestling show on TV at the moment.
That is, of course, a little bit of the AEW Dynamite, no doubt about
I can't lie, you have a heck of a jammy collection, Soul.
Yeah, I know.
We did a lot of shows last week. You got a heck of a jammy collection. Comfies. You got a comfy drawer, I would imagine.
I sleep well.
Well, despite whether or not AEW Dynamite is your favorite show, that is certainly up for personal debate. But regardless, what I think everybody can agree on, unless you're just very, very biased, is that AEW Dynamite has been a heck of a 5 years. I mean, let's face it, 5 years ago, there was no alternative. Now we've had 5 years of there being an alternative, especially during the pandemic. I mean, honestly, AEW, there were so many moments during that, that point in time where, I mean, let's be real, it was probably the only thing to look forward to in the week because Raw was in the PC for quite a bit and that was quite boring. But with AEW Dynamite, at least it was in Daily's place and it kind of had a vibe to it. It wasn't a crowd, but it was the next best thing. And I mean, AEW, like I said, a heck of a 5 years. But we're going to kick things off by talking about our favorite moment in the history of AEW Dynamite. On the graphic there, it says favorite AEW moments. No, it's favorite AEW Dynamite moment. It's just I had to change the graphics last minute because, again, we were expecting an announcement. But, Clark, I'm going to go to you first. What is your favorite moment in the history of All Elite Wrestling's Dynamite?
So, I mean, for me, the debut episode I absolutely loved. And if I had to pick one specific moment where I was like, man, I'm going to really start watching this too. It's so early, but Moxley with that Death Rider, with that double arm DDT through the glass table on Kenny Omega, that paradigm shift, it was a paradigm shift, right? That's how they coined the name. As far as on the American side, I know it's a Death Rider in Japan. It's a paradigm shift here. It was a paradigm shift for professional wrestling. That moment in particular, like, oh no, they got Moxley too, because that, it felt so important. It felt so special. It's a highlight we see all the time, the glass shattering and going everywhere. It kicked off a great rivalry. I loved the follow-up match, the unsanctioned match. Personally, I know there were some critics of that match. I was not one of them. I enjoyed every second of that. Hadn't seen it in a long time, and at the moment, it felt very, very refreshing. Don't need to see it all the time, but the fact that it's a choice and remains a choice, and AEW's let it remain a choice, is something that entices me, especially as an adult wrestling fan. And that's no knock on, I believe wrestling should appeal to all ages. But one great thing about AEW and Dynamite in particular is it does feel slightly more adult than what we've gotten over the last 20 years. And that is not me criticizing the WWE, right? You can like apples and oranges. You know what I mean? You can like chicken and beef. It's okay. And you can like them both for different reasons too. And that moment through the glass table, the violence of it, the realism, especially at that time too, of it would be my favorite Dynamite moment by far.
I mean, that was a heck of a Dynamite moment, no doubt about it. And to your point, throughout the 5 years of AEW Dynamite, it's always been a lot of tribalism. And I think it's because obviously when it first kicked off, it went head to head with NXT. And I always wonder, even though I did really enjoy that time, if NXT wasn't, going up against it head to head, whether or not we would have had all that tribalism. Probably still would have happened.
I think we would have. We had it with WCW and WWE, Ben, would be not to start a broader
but there was
conversation.
The Monday Night Wars then, too.
No, but that's kind of my point is the tribalism and wrestling thing. We had it in the territory days, right? Mid-South's better than AWA, right? The NWA is better than WWF, or WWF's better than NWA, whichever way you leaned. It's been the tribalism thing isn't that new, is what I would say to answer that.
No, you are right about it, but I do think it is a shame, how predominant it is really in professional wrestling right now. But to your point, there have been so many great moments, and that brawl that Moxley and Omega had through the crowd on one of the first episodes of AEW Dynamite, I believe
it was the second ever.
Second, was
I'm
it?
not positive. It was either the first or second. It was one of the first two.
First, was it?
Was it first? Yeah.
Nice. Well, so you said it in your intro. Your favorite TV show is AEW Dynamite. Well, what is your favorite moment from AEW Dynamite?
I mean, there's so many. I could list off, from Jake Hader debuting, and it really set up this crazy tone of anyone could appear, to the whole era with Daly's place, Hangman and Kenny Omega starting the rivalry, Don Callis to earning on Moxley and aligning with Kenny Omega, the whole Brody Lee Memorial Show, Brody Lee and Matt Hardy debuting in Daly's place, Cody and Red Velvet versus Jay Cargill and Shaq, MJF doing the second rope tombstone on Sammy, to then going on the road, then Malachi Black debuting, Punk's Dynamite debut promo as well. Like so many moments, and in a 5-year span, I always look back and just think of like glee and joy. Even Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa's St. Patrick Day match that was lauded for being a true setter of what AEW's women can do, is enjoy that hardcore brutality style. But for favorite moment, I would personally say it's between two. One that made me see a wrestler as this guy is the next best thing, and another one that just made me feel utter joy and happiness. So the joy and happiness one is the one where Hangman Adam Page came out, the Dynamite after Full Gear, winning the AEW World Championship, because this was the guy throughout the whole pandemic era I saw and always felt like I like him. I like his style. I like his character. I like his theme. I like his ring moves. I like everything about him. Obviously, he was the tag champions with Kenny. They ended up losing to FTR, and then it was the downfall of the Cowboy. And that whole friendship with Dark Order, it's one of my favorite group friendships of all time, just because I connected with it so well. And I think as well, because I watched BTE back then as well when it was still airing, you got that companion piece because you would see Dark Order being jokes and characters, and then on Dynamite you would see Hangman and Adam Page continue his downfall, but Dark Order were always still there lurking. Obviously, Brody passed away. I really do wonder, it's probably one of the biggest what ifs if Brody sadly hadn't passed. How would he affected the Omega the Omega Hangman story? How would he really have put an impact on that? Of course, as well, he had that amazing entrance with Kenny and with Hangman and Dark Order versus the Elite when they were doing the Space Jam entrance. There's also like the Ghostbusters one, but just to see that was truly like I see my guy made it. Like every wrestling fan has that moment where they have a baby face and they want to see him win and get that title, and they're like, I got that, and I'm so happy I got to see that watching it at home, obviously at 1 a.m. But the other moment when I thought about a guy and I was like, oh, this guy is a big deal. This guy is truly the guy. It's MJF's promo in LA, the Dynamite after Double or Nothing. The iconic one where obviously he had that match with Wardlow. There was a thing about him going on a jet, not wanting to show up. He just comes out like the whole build for it was crazy because literally AEW on Twitter at the time just put out MJF will be live. No, like this Wednesday, no nothing, no nothing, just the picture. MJF comes out and like everybody was in the know and know what happened, and he just like, because before MJF was always, I've always thought MJF was just a comedy heel character because he had this whenever he had the sing song with Jericho over steaks back in Daly's place.
Yeah,
I always thought, like, oh, he's a great singer and all that.
Le
Like,
dinner debonair.
I always thought he was a joke. Like, and then the Pinnacle, I thought again was a joke. I really like the Wardlow stuff because of Wardlow, not MJF. And obviously the Punk stuff had happened at that point, which I really did like as well. And that's probably one of AEW's greatest feuds. But that promo where MJF goes off, I feel like has set the precedent for what MJF is now, of the devil of AEW and somebody that will just do whatever he has to. He goes off on things that like felt like taboo to say with like all the WWE hires that Tony did, saying of how he would be a WWE guy. And then obviously cuts the ferocity bit where it's like you shut your mouth to the camera guy, and he goes, fire me, you Mark, fire me, Tony, and his mic cuts, and you just see everybody in the audience is like, oh. And I remember the live feed on that, like watching it on Reddit with a group, and everybody was just commenting, like matches were happening, but everyone was just commenting like, I want to see that again. And AEW addressed none of it. They never posted the clip. They never did anything with MJF until All Out at 2022. He just went hidden. And it set him up for being that sinister bad guy that I actually think is just amazing. It made MJF, and it made me an MJF fan.
That is a brilliant moment, no doubt about it, Soul. I do have to agree with you there. MJF, a man who's had so many great moments throughout the history of AEW Dynamite throughout the 5 years, and that actually comes to my favorite moment, right? Because it was 2021. It was November 24th, 2021, and I was trying to go to sleep for the night, right? It was the day before my birthday. I was trying to go to sleep at about 1 a.m., so technically my birthday, now technically in the UK, November 25th, I woke up and I just couldn't really sleep. So I went on my iPad, I pulled up AEW Dynamite as it was starting, and it started with a promo. And the promo was between CM Punk and MJF, and I got goosebumps instantly because this was an exchange on the microphone, which I'd wanted to see since I first saw MJF talk. Because I was like, this guy, even though his promo style is so similar to The Miz and other people, in a lot of ways, he reminded me of CM Punk on the mic. And when I saw them both in the same ring, I mean, that promo, I think it was like 20 minutes. And I was in from the start. I was hooked into it to the point where it's genuinely one of my favorite promo exchanges in professional wrestling history. And yeah, that is for me personally my favorite moment in the history.
They gave him 18 minutes of mic time. It's
Yeah,
fascinating. I know
which you never
exactly which
see.
one you're talking about. I've watched it 100 times.
Yeah.
It is
I mean-
18 minutes of two guys talking, and you're entertained all 18.
Yeah.
Like generally
That's
with
as long as the
AEW,
match.
with Dynamite, like there are we could probably spend I could probably spend an hour and a half just going through moments through the period of AEW Dynamite, and the fact that within that in the
Sting
company's
debut.
5-year lifespan, that 5 years is short. Some people may say that is really long, but 5 years is relatively short for a company. Like I think when AEW like came out in 2019, I think not even the PS5 had launched at that point, or like things that like in the world of media and all. I think like for the event, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think Endgame had just came out at that point or something like that. Like the fact that they've done all this in 5 years, and we can go through so many moments we love, and they can do a highlight reel of moments that people will connect with, is truly extraordinary. And the fact as well, Dynamite is I believe they're set to soon to take over Nitro for like how many episodes. The fact that AEW Dynamite's been around longer than Monday Night Nitro, that a show that people still harken back to with as many good moments. And some may say the quality's dipped, some may say it's maintained. I've truly still loved it, and I can't wait for another 5 years.
I wonder what the math is. This is random, but I wonder what the math is on total hours, since Nitro went to 3 hours at one point. I wonder, because they're bound to catch that at this stage, right? As well, total hours of time on network. Like, it's kind of wild to think about and wrap your head around, to your point, Stoll, because Nitro is such a huge talking point to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you include all the hours of WCW on TNT, including Thunder,
Thunder, though, I mean, with Collision and Rampage, it's
that's what I'm
close.
saying. No, that's what I'm. No, I think
Yeah.
even including Thunder, I think there's a possibility that they've overtaken it already. If you include
you're looking
all
at
the
five
shows.
versus 5 if you think about it, because you had 3 and 2 at least. I mean, at first it was 2 and none, then it was 2 and 1, and then it was 3 Nitro, 2 Thunder by the end. So they had 5
Yeah.
hours of television for probably what, a 3.5 year stretch. And you look at
Knife. I didn't realize Nitro was 3 hours for that long. I thought that was quite a short-term thing. So I didn't realize that.
Earlier than you thought. They pulled the trigger on the 3rd hour like quickly.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, not maybe. Actually, if it's 3 hours, I think I'm very much wrong. I think AW will have a little bit of a while to go, but let's face it, they're going to get there, right? They are on fire right now. We know Tony Khan's been teasing this TV deal. There's a lot of mystery around it. There's a lot of talk, but what's the fact from fiction? We're going to have to wait and see. We were hoping we'd know by today based on Tony Khan's tweet last night, but hey, he's keeping us waiting, and he certainly knows how to do that. And we'll come back to AEW Dynamite later in the show. But firstly, let's talk about a former AEW star, shall we? Let's talk about Ethan Page, because he left AEW and jumped ship to NXT. And since then, he's won the NXT Championship, but last night he lost it to Trick Williams. Now, the question on everybody's tongue today is, will Ethan Page be getting called up to the main roster now? I've said it before, and I will say it again. I don't think Ethan Page is going to be called up to the main roster anytime soon. I'm going to be honest here, I'm not even sure if there's a plan to ever call him up. I think they signed him as a main event guy in NXT would help their NXT division and really bring some experience to it, with a thought being that if he gets really over, then maybe they will call him up. But I don't necessarily think that they've got any long-term plans for him on the main roster. Why? Well, he's not old, right? He's not old at all. He could, but he's mid-30s, and they've got so many guys on the main roster now that it really is a thing of, if you're getting called up, you have to replace somebody, because if you're not replacing somebody, then you're going to get lost in the shuffle. We've seen it to so many of the call-ups, and quite frankly, I don't think there's a single guy right now on that main roster who gets TV time who Ethan Page could just simply replace. But Clark, you're the NXT guy. I want to go to you about this. Do you think we could see Ethan Page on the main roster soon?
We're two on the same page on this one, Ben. I can't lie to you when it comes to this. My first thought was why to replace Austin Theory. What's wrong with Austin Theory? Is that what we want? Is just another Austin Theory on the main roster? No. You made a great point. He fits NXT perfectly. We know about his past in TNA. We know about his past in AEW. He got lost in the shuffle in those spots a few times. Not always. He's had success. We all see the potential and the talent, especially as a heel. He's a very good heel. All ego in and of itself. I mean, yeah, he's self-obsessed. We get it. He's a narcissist. And I like it. I think he's really good at it. But you made another excellent point about how well he could mentor the future in NXT. NXT is the perfect spot for him. And with this new CW deal, we saw how big of a deal the show was last night. He main evented it and legit main evented it, and it was no problem. Yes, Trick Williams got the W, but NXT is the spot for him for the time being, no doubt. Down the road, if there was something that made sense to call him up, okay. But for right now, you're just adding Austin Theory 2.0, but a little bit older, to the middle of the card and eventually the low end of the card and comedy segments and things like that. And I don't know if that's what Ethan Page wants. I would imagine he would prefer to be working upper mid card, basically where he's at, working with younger talent, helping people bring people along and being able to showcase his skills in a way that isn't trying to prove yourself amongst a giant pond. Not that NXT is a small pond, because it's not. There's plenty of talent, but he's the veteran there. He's no longer the veteran after the call up. And it drastically changes the way he's being booked, the way he's going to come across on screen. And I don't see him being a threat for a US or an Intercontinental title anytime soon. Definitely neither of the world titles. No reason to call him up. But that's not a knock on Ethan Page. It's just that he's a better fit for NXT.
Yeah. No, I do completely agree with you there, but at the same time, the quote Austin Theory 2.0 is going to get you in trouble, Clark, isn't it?
With who?
The Instagram comments. Because that is definitely
they love
that
Theory?
is definitely a post, isn't it?
Yeah, he's doing
On
great.
the main roster, he'll be Austin Theory too. I'm joking. Or
Yeah,
am I? Who
let's
knows?
give him a gold egg and see what he does with it.
In all seriousness, no, I completely agree.
Maybe he'll lay less of an egg. Clip that one in there.
Maybe. Let's stop the Austin Theory hate, eh? Chris Leclerc, big Sky Blue fan. He's saying happy 25th birthday to Sky Blue. Shout out to Sky Blue. But his favorite AEW Dynamite moment was on December 16th when Sky Blue turned heel. I mean, that was a great moment, no doubt about it. But he also says that Trick Williams was the only babyface to win yesterday on NXT. That's a good point as well. But it was a big win. It was a feel-good win, and it was a great way to end the show and to start the CW era. But now let's move on to talk about something else which is great, and that, of course, is our good friends over at Next Level. Now, if you guys haven't heard of Next Level before, let me talk to you, because Next Level have basically taken all our social media links from all our platforms and put them in one place, and that one place is nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, all in one place. It is completely free. Once again, nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, linked all in one place. But now let's move on to talk about Matthew Cardona. I talked about this in Wrestling Republic News earlier today. But Matt Cardona has revealed that he hasn't received an offer from WWE. They're not asking for him to return. He hasn't received a proper offer from AEW either. I said maybe it's the Matt Cardona name thing which is putting WWE off. Of course, they brought back Shawn Spears with his new name, but at the same time, one's NXT and one would likely be the main roster. So, for a long time, you predicted Matt Cardona returning to WWE. It was almost a running joke at some point, but it hasn't happened. And very weirdly, he hasn't even been given an offer. What's your thoughts on this? You're on mute, Sol.
There we go. Cardona's whole thing has pretty much been, I make my own fate. I go in the indies, I do my thing. I'm the indie god, I'm the deathmatch king. I am Mr. Indie. But like, maybe that's why. Maybe because they've just seen him like, you're doing the independents. You've made such a name for yourself there. Maybe we're not gonna touch on you for a contract or something like that. I mean, he's in TNA. I mean, there's a potential of that crossover with NXT. AEW's appeared on AEW television. He appeared for a good part in the pandemic era in Daly's place. Then he obviously returned in Collision for an open challenge against Adam Copeland, who was the TNT champion at the time. So it's not like he's he's not got he's got a possibility with WWE, and he's been with AEW in the past. The fact is that, does AEW and WWE need a Cardona? Honestly, no, because like WWE, they got Cody. Like Cody's their big guy, right? They've got Sami Zayn. They've got all these other Jey Uso. Like it's like what I say. Like you get hired when the environment needs you. Does the environment of WWE and AEW need another babyface like a Matt Cardona? Not necessarily. Like if he was to sign with the companies, probably get a showcase match on the main show, maybe move down to the mid card, and then he'll end up just being forgotten about and not used. I mean, how long was Bronson Reed forgotten about and then finally given an opportunity to shine and then has had a moment where everybody likes him? How long has somebody like Swerve, when he was brought in, obviously put in a tag team with Swerve in Our Glory, had a really trembling time with the Mogul Embassy, then became a main eventer? It just depends. And as well, Cardona, like, he's had association with the NWA. He's been NWA champion, I think once, and then obviously had to vacate it. He's been injured for pretty much a lot of this year. I think for a torn tricep he suffered in an Australian show. So like, he's been injured, but at the end of the day, it's like, do the places need Cardona? I don't necessarily think so. He is doing stuff within NWA continuously. I remember he popped up recently with Joe Alonso when he was the junior champion. He's doing stuff in TNA against PCO. So it's not like he's not getting work. I kind of hope this isn't him like begging for a big deal, because obviously his wife's in WWE. She's doing very well. I don't want to see that from Cardona. I would like to just see him to do what suits him. Now, of course, everybody has that desire to get to the big companies and everything, but he's had a chance with WWE. Maybe TKO board executives or whatever, or Nick Cannon being like, well, why do we want this guy back? We released him and he was 10 years of pretty much a joke character. Like, why would we want him back? And I think with Cardona as well, he was the internet guy. He was the meme guy. He was the guy that got over with the internet. They've got Joe Hendry coming in. Like, he's going to sign with WWE as soon as his TNA deal's up. I'm 100% guaranteeing that. I think everybody else as well. And I think WWE are thinking, well, we can get the current relatable meme guy, Joe Hendry. Why would we want the other one? And to be fair, even as a massive Cardona fan myself, he hasn't been as hot as he was. Like, he's definitely cooled off with obviously these injuries. I feel like his peak was the NWA World Heavyweight Championship win. Obviously, he had to vacate it. He got injured. He did the musical show that he's done, which is the touring one. Popped up in TNA from there and there. Obviously, GCW continuing, but his stock has definitely cooled. That's a shame to admit, but it has tremendously cooled. And I don't think there maybe is that big of an appeal with internet characters when we've seen somebody like, Joe Hendry. He's the thing in now, yes. But whenever Danhausen, he was the massive thing in now. The company didn't want to use him. He got injured at Revolution 2023. He came back around Halloween. He got used for a wee bit. And now he's just stuck in the indies because maybe AEW doesn't have a place for him. Yeah, you can sell a lot of merch. Yeah, you could be, hip and cool and a social media gain. But if the company doesn't use you on your TV product, then you're not really a benefit. So I wonder, is Cardona in the same kind of bucket of what Danhausen is? Very, very popular on the internet. Very, very, very over. But then an injury happened, and then their stock's just cooled.
That is a very realist way of looking at it, but you make some good points. You truly do.
I also think, to your point, though, Soul, it's hard to take everything a pro wrestler like Cardona says at face value. And I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on a lot of the internet stuff, all of that. So maybe it is a bit of a lull, and it's like honesty through his teeth to get noticed, because now we're talking about him.
I
and
think
it's
that's
like,
what it
hey,
is
I'm
as well.
available
The
for
thing
the
is, though,
Rumble.
to
That's
me,
He's
that's
kind of how
commenting
I
on all
took it.
WWE's posts as well.
Yeah,
which is
right.
Yeah,
awesome.
but
Like,
he's always done that for his friends. Like, he always does it for Miz. Like, he does it for Miz. But like, it just seems a bit crybaby to me. Like, I don't want to see
He
him
wants the
become like
bag.
but
He wants the
remember,
big bag before he
Yeah,
retires.
I know he
Also,
wants the big
remember-
Play
bag.
to
I
him.
don't want
remember
him.
Chelsea
I
plays
don't-
that character. If you're
Yeah,
gonna
I know
bring
that's
him
his
in
character. I know that's
alongside
his
Chelsea
character.
Green,
His
he's
character's the
already
indie
playing
god.
the
Like,
character.
he's done stuff with like he took a replica of the women tag belt to like DDT or something like that, which I think is funny and
How
hilarious. 'Cause
could
that
you
belt,
not want to sign me? Just
yeah,
like
but like
Chelsea,
I
right?
don't
And
want
you
him
put them
to,
alongside each other for a mixed
yeah,
tag
but
match.
Clark, I don't
For the
want
debut.
Cardona. I don't want Cardona at a GCW show or an indie show for like a good few months, being like, "Notice me, Triple H. Notice me and sign me to a deal."
See,
because
I don't think
He's
that's
not
what I'm
doing that, though.
suggesting.
He's
No,
put
I'm
out
not
a
saying
tweet.
I'm saying I don't want him to become that. I don't want him to be.
I don't
like
think he's
that.
going to. I don't
Yeah,
think it'll
but
play out in that
that's-
scene. It'll play out as soon as he debuts in WWE, if he does.
I don't want him to be like the thing is what Cardona on the Indies is like. He's smug, he's arrogant, he's like, you pay attention to me, and like, you know, I'm better than the Indies and all that. But I don't want him to be like coming out and like, you know, yeah, but I don't want him to be like, notice me, Triple H, notice me, Tony Khan.
I don't think he's going to grovel. I don't think he's gonna grovel. I think he's gonna sit here.
I'm saying I don't want him to be that. I want Cardona to be like the guy who's like, I don't need their validation. I don't need them to notice me. I'm the top star of the Indies. This is my
Isn't that a baby
domain.
thing?
That's not a baby thing. That's like an arrogant heel thing. A baby thing would be him coming out and be like, I have to work another independent show because I can't go back to the place to give me my bag. My wife's getting all the money and I'm going to become a stay-at-home
Why would you
husband
root
or
for
something like
that whiny guy? Why would you ever root?
I think
That's not a
Cardona's
baby
cool.
face. That's a heel.
Cardona is cool. I cool him out. I do not want
He's
to be
meant to
like,
be a
oh,
heel, to be fair to him. You're not meant to.
that's not
Anyway.
a guy.
Anyway.
You're telling me a heel tactic is coming out and saying, I can't get signed by the big companies. My wife's getting more TV time than me.
Yes.
Woo-hoo. I'm going to go play with my teenage mutant
People
ninja
do
He
not like
shouldn't
Weiner.
do that, and he won't do that. But
Look,
yes, that would be a way in a GCW crowd to get booed out of the building, to be
be
fair.
whiny. Like, why aren't you happy to be here?
Like Cardona's done that before. Like when he made the GCW Universal title a spinner, it was the most hilarious,
hilarious
thing I've ever seen in my
Gold.
life. And also the fact that it only lasted like 20 days.
It was good
is a
heel work
disgrace in
because
itself.
the crowd hated it.
He doesn't have to stoop to that level of begging. He can
No,
be
I
cocky.
agree, but he's not doing that.
No, it's not what.
I don't want him
He's
to do
gonna be
that.
whiny like Chelsea.
I don't want him to do that.
Male Karen.
Is it fully understandable he hasn't? If Cardona's not lying through his teeth and he's not got offers, it's fully understandable because the environment of the two companies don't need him. I don't want Cardona coming out in Mania 49 weekend with a sign that says "Notice me, Papa H."
No,
I
he's
don't
not gonna
want
do
that. That's cringy.
That's
to
not
me.
the.
I
You're
won't- I
writing a
won't take him
story that
seriously.
was not even ever suggested.
I'm just
He
saying
doesn't have to
ideas
do
I
that
don't want to happen.
to get
Keyword
some.
here.
I don't want Triple H to come out and buy AEW tonight as well.
Yeah,
But now let's
same.
move on to the next topic, shall we? Because we are going to preview tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite because it is a stacked one. We have Hangman Page versus Juice Robinson. We have for the AEW International Championship, Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. We've been waiting quite a few years for that rematch. We have Britt Baker returning to take on Serena Deeb, and we have in a match which I'm not a fan of, we have a championship versus championship match between Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada. For the first 20 minutes, both titles will be on the line. Then after that, just the AEW championship will be on the line. So in other words, Danielson's going to win after 20 minutes. I'm very excited for the show. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. The matches are going to be great. But again, I complained about it. I've complained about it so many times now. Another champion versus champion match. I don't understand why they're doing this. The stipulation makes it obvious. I mean, I don't think you should be doing champion versus champion matches at all unless it's a big deal and it's built like a big deal. This feels random and makes whoever loses look weak.
Oh, come on.
Clark, It's true, it does.
No,
Whoever
hang on
loses,
here. I'm taking over here. This is a hostile takeover.
No. I'll quickly say this, and I will pause it to you then, Sol, right? If you are holding a championship, right, which is what's going to happen tonight, Kazuchika Okada is going to walk in with that belt. He's going to keep it for the 20 minutes, so he won't lose the belt. Danielson will then beat him. Well, automatically, his belt will look more stupider. Will look less prestigious, whatever you want to say.
More stupider. Stick with more stupider. That's
more
the one.
stupider.
Right,
Then
come on,
the world championship, and of course it's meant to. But a good champion will try and make out that their belt is the most prestigious. Like
has the
Gunther
heat
did,
stroke gotten you? Has the heat stroke got you from your holiday? Have you now burned the synapses in your brain from all the heat?
Well, it's true. It's bang on.
Come on now.
And
Come on now.
covered
I'll
it
tell you the
today on
story.
NWR News.
I'll tell you the
Internet
story.
agrees.
I'll tell you the story. Right? Brian beat Okada Forbidden Door, 1 win in the States. Okada then beat Brian Forbidden at Wrestle Kingdom this year, 1-1. There's a story here, of the final.
But they haven't told it.
They told it on Instagram, on Brian's account.
No,
you don't have to.
Sorry,
You
cannot
cannot
tell a story on social media and claim the company's telling the story. Not even on the AEW social media, Brian Danielson's social media.
I can do my own homework. I don't need to.
How can you expect the viewer to do that?
The absolute quiz questions, right? I can do my own homework, son. I can come by and be told, this is the point. How do we get here? Well, I can add in more to the details because I actually go out and do my research, right? AEW is a hardcore company, right? The fans are following the social media page and they see all that. And it's about wrestle. We're the best wrestle. Bryan Danielson and Okada are the best wrestlers in the world right now. Of course, I want to see this match. And of course, people are wondering, well, why 20-minute rules? Why is it 20 minutes for the Continental Championship? The Continental Championship has rules to it. No interference, and a 20-minute time limit for the championship, right? We've seen a time limit draw with Claudio and Okada in Cardiff. That's the rules of the championship. So, who's feuding with Okada right now? Oh, it's Takeshita. Could Takeshita interfere in the first 20 minutes? No, because that's the rule of the championship. Well, he could interfere when that championship rule expires because of the time limit, and it's a world championship match. Oh, it could indeed so. Could it now? Yes, viewer, it could indeed. Who's Brian also feuding with? Moxley, I think. Yes, he is, isn't he? So you have Moxley interfere, or you have Takeshita interfere, builds up Okada and Takeshita, or Brian or Mox. I mean, come on. Brian's defending the title against Moxley at Wrestle Dream. No doubt he's going to lose the belt to Okada, but it's going to be a fun match because AEW is a wrestling company. I want to see the wrestling. I don't need to be a handheld and told the stories. This isn't a
but you do if you want more viewers. So what you actually said there was great. What you actually said was
you
great.
You had it,
right?
and at the end, you just tried to.
No. What you said was right, but the fact is, Saul, you have to tell the viewer that. Because your business, your company can't survive if you expect everyone to know every little thing. It can't,
okay, so
right?
that basically means disregarding hardcore fans who know this stuff.
No, it doesn't mean that. Because no.
This is why I don't watch
a basic
WWE. I don't need to be reminded the story
add...
every second video package. I know what I'm going into. I know what I want to see. Stop repeating yourself. You're like a goddamn ventriloquist. I don't need to hear it anymore. Cody hates Roman. Okay, why? Bloodline. 76 years of family infighting. Cool. I know that. It's been going on since the pandemic. I don't need to be told this 60,000 bloody times, right? I want to see wrestling.
I mean, there's a massive difference here. You've gone from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, now you're like,
I'm gonna.
You lost me.
Right.
Look, I want to see this match because it's a wrestling match. I know I'm enjoying for it. I'm excited for it. I'm going to stay up until 3 a.m. to watch this. I have some chicken pakora and a nice bit of pila rice in the freezer right now that I'm going to defrost and watch this.
I had some of that last night, actually.
It's very nice. It's nice even with some sweet and sour sauce. But I'm excited for this match. And of course, there's many other great things on the card. Deeb, Baker, Hangman Juice. Probably see the return of Jay White. Then also there's going to be other great stuff on that card. I mean, Osprey and Ricochet. A match that set the precedent for what modern wrestling is back in 2014. They're going to face off again. Stellar. I'm going to enjoy it because AEW is where the best wrestlers. Stop telling me things I already know.
Hello to you as well, Herman. I hope you're having a great day. And also, Chris Leclerc is saying that, of course, NXT and AEW will be going head-to-head next Tuesday because of course, TV clashes. But, Clark, I want to get your thoughts. AEW Dynamite, what are you excited for?
Okay, so I'm obviously really, 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 really excited for Osprey Ricochet. That's just going to be cool to see it in a TV setting. It's not going to be the same as it was before. It's not going to be Cirque du Soleil plus fighting, but I do believe that these two athletes are capable of things that the majority of the rest of the world are not. And they're going to do that tonight in a way that's beyond entertaining. I don't even know how much time this will take. I'm actually very curious about this because I don't know if we need 30 minutes of Ricochet and Osprey. I almost want to see like a 14 to 18 minute sprint when it comes to that one. Obviously, Serena Deeb, I love DMD. I'm an admitted Dr. Britt Baker fan, still trying to figure out how I can get my next teeth cleaning there because I just think it would be funny. Don't think because of HIPAA laws we could film it for content, but that would be hilarious too, Ben. I'm just saying. Last but certainly not least, I do want to talk quickly about the Danielson Okada thing. If I'm booking this, and that's the only way I can kind of go about it to justify it in my mind, I don't really totally hate the stipulation as much, I think, as some have, because it has shenanigans written all over it, as I think Okada and Danielson could easily main event a pay-per-view here, over the course of the next year before Danielson is done with his full-time run. And if there's some kind of, Soul mentioned Takeshita, mentioned Moxley, if there's some kind of maybe a ref bump and you get a Rainmaker and Okada can be double champ at some point, or well, how about Okada taps to the LeBell lock with the ref down at 1957, and then later in the match you have another ref bump. Okada has the opportunity to be double champ himself still because he's the only one with the advantage in that regard. After that 20-minute time limit, he hits a Rainmaker. Maybe the second referee is down at this stage. It's a long count. It's a 2 count. Nobody really loses. And then Moxley comes and messes up everything. And I know TK doesn't like his DQ finishes, but if there was ever a time for one, I don't have an issue here. You protect both, Ben, and you give us 30 minutes of entertaining wrestling. And that satisfies a lot of not only this crew, but a lot of crews in general. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it, Clark. And I mean, to your point, right, and to Soul's point as well, I think there's so many ways you can book this match where it makes so much sense. But my issue with it is I think they should have, they should have built it up a little bit more so it would feel prestigious. So when they did it, and they haven't done tons of other matches in the past which were exactly the same, then it would feel special, then it will build it. But I've put us on this screen because we have a TK tweet. And that TK tweet says, tonight we celebrate 5 years of AEW Dynamite. TBS has given us our biggest overrun ever for tonight's action. Could be a half an hour or more. Tonight,
I love that.
8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And that's not the only announcement today. Can't wait to celebrate with all of you on TBS tonight. I sniff a TV deal.
I love it.
You're gonna come out with a belt, and it's not
one of my
TNT.
favorite things about the tweet is it's old school AEW. If you really think about it, when they first started those overruns, he'd make it look cool in a way where it's like, wait a minute, the show's got to end. Oh no. Tony Khan, he got us more time. It felt like he was on our side. And I love that he's saving the announcement for the show tonight. The announcements thing has definitely become like a cliche, made fun of deal, but it takes the steam out of that because it's like, look, you get extra free wrestling tonight.
Yeah,
you are
right. You are right.
It's
and
brilliant.
this is also one which I think is worth it a bit as well.
Yes,
it makes sense this time.
So I grabbed this for a reason, right? I bet TK is going to be on TV with a Warner Brother executive, and he's going to announce the partnership and all that. And he's like, we're going to be here for another 5 years. Oh, and I have a gift for you, sir. He's going to pull out a TNT replica, but I ain't going to see TNT. MAX Max. I think we're going to see AEW on Max.
That's a hell of a prediction. That certainly is. Although Drizzy says they've stole NXT's overrun.
We discussed this last night. It's really interesting.
NXT used to go
8 past the hour, and we loved it.
Not anymore.
And it ended on the hour. And the weirdest is, we were dying over the credits at the end of the show. Yeah. You don't usually see credits at the end of a wrestling show, but This is the last one, and then I promise I know you're trying to get me out of here, Ben, but Paul Levesque at the top, the third name Shawn Michaels. Michael Hickenbottom? What do you mean? Why does he get a stage name, but Paul Levesque isn't Triple H? I don't understand.
That's true. That's
Never
true.
understood
That is. It's a good point. But to end the show, Drizzy says he's going to cry you a river soul with real glass. We'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow. Ba ba ba. Peace.